Joining me now is Alison Barto, Chair of CIPS. Alison, welcome. We know that the profession has seen so many changes in the last few years. What are some of the issues that you're facing now, and how are you going about managing some of those?
What a change it's gone through. So I remember when I started in the 90s, and the focus really was around total cost of ownership and the price and the cost of a product. But with everything that's happened with the Ukraine war, with COVID, inflation, the role of the professional within procurement and supply chain has changed dramatically. You know, we go to the supermarket and there's, the shelves are empty. So starting to think around resilience of the supply chain, contingency, how do we source, where do we source from, is really important. You know, the role of a buyer and a sourcing individual and supply management people is evolving. They have to think a lot wider. They have to think about sustainability. They have to think about how do we get products onto shelves? How do we make sure that we don't stop production? So yes, change significantly.
You mentioned sustainability there. How much more important is sustainability and ethics now to the consumer, and how are you managing that in the supply chain?
Look, it's critical to everything that's happening. So a lot of organisations, in fact, most organisations have set net zero targets, whether that's to 2030 or to 2050. But the only way you can drive that down is managing through your supply chain. In some organisations, their carbon footprint is driven by 90% of the goods that they source and the services they source. So being able to influence your suppliers' footprint and be able to, and their suppliers, you know, we talk about getting down to the nuts and bolts, but you have to understand not only where does the nut and bolt come from, but where does the metal come from? Because you have to be able to understand every part of that supply chain if you are going to influence the sustainability output of your organisation. A lot of organisations have combined their procurement division as well as their sustainability departments because they realise that they go hand in hand.
And how do you as a profession manage now to navigate new regulatory changes?
Profession is always going to be open to regulatory changes. You know, my background is financial services, so it's kind of we just coped with it. It was something that we had to live with, and a lot of professions will do that. Whether it's anything on modern slavery or other regulatory issues, procurement professionals need to be skilled up. They need to understand them, and they need to be compliant.
You have 60,000 members at CIPS. How do you support those members?
So ultimately it sets standards for the profession, it trains, it upskills, so it has to be relevant in all of the current topics. So we have to support our members through their full life cycle of their career, so everything from initial examinations. Last year we did 100,000 exams in 185 countries. So we do everything from qualifications to continually educating people on hot topics, so whether that's sustainability or whether it is modern slavery, making sure we're relevant. And in some cases, we don't always have the answer, so we have to build partnerships with other organisations that can help us support our members as well.
What are your aspirations now for CIPS going forward?
I'd like for CIPS to extend its reach further so that it's not just procurement professionals, because there's a lot of information and a lot of training that we can provide to a much wider audience, and therefore make a difference and have a greater reach. We are a charity, we're a not-for-profit, so actually working with other not-for-profits and working with the donor-funded programmes is really critical to us. And I think to put it in perspective, in some cases, this is saving lives, and it sounds a little bit dramatic, but if you look at the work we've been doing with Health Procurement Africa, where we've been ensuring that sourcing medication is more efficient, so therefore it gets to more people, whether it's the work we've done with ActionAid, with working with female farmers, or female working in garment factories in Bangladesh, this is really having a massive impact. And for me, I think working at an organisation that makes a difference is really important.
Okay, Alison Barto, many thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.